Imagine your surprise if you are just minding your own business wherever you are, Ohio, Alabama, Texas, and all of a sudden your local constable is like, guess what, sucker? California says you're not allowed to have any guns anymore. Give them up. We are the Arms Attorneys. Today we are talking about how the state of California has just exercised its red flag power over the citizen of a different state. We're going to talk about how California is managing to strip gun rights from people who potentially have never even been to California. We're going to talk about how this is or is not legal and how we think it's all going to play out and how we fight this. But before we get started, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting the like button. And today's sponsor is BOS Lock. If you have children in the house, we have an incredible new solution. Meet BOS Lock, a revolutionary biometric firearm safety device designed for home use.
With exceptional accessibility and security, the BOS Lock uses enhanced fingerprint technology to permit only verified users to swiftly ready their firearm. This enhances security and provides a dependable safety solution.
Ideal for families, BOS Lock offers incredible peace of mind. It prevents unauthorized access, especially by children, and offers unmatched portability, fitting anywhere from a kitchen drawer to a bedside table.
With BOS Lock, your firearm is securely locked and ready for immediate use in under half a second. This rapid readiness ensures a seamless draw, mimicking natural handling for quick, precise action in high-stress situations.
Choose BOS Lock for sophisticated, dependable firearm safety at home without compromising speed. BOS Lock, ready for anything, hoping for the best, equipped for the rest. Visit them at www.boslock.com. Use code ARMED24 for $10 off plus free shipping.
All right, I think we saw this one coming, and we warned ya.
We warned ya.
And here we are. As part of the new National Extreme Risk Protection Order Act, we saw that released by the Department of Justice. They're giving tons of money to states, all these kind of templates to go off of. We're starting to see these templates being utilized in kind of the usual suspect states that are hostile to the Second Amendment. And for the most part, we think, hey, thank God I live in, red state. This doesn't apply to me. Well, we have some bad news. It may very well, you may get dragged into all this because we have seen it happen. We have actually a real world case. We're going to discuss it with you. But to know how insidious this is like a multi-tentacle monster. And so, think about this. You're going to the guns store, going to go purchase a firearm. They query the NICS background check system, and you get denied because you have gotten a red flag out of a state that you haven't been to, or maybe you haven't been there in a decade, or you haven't been there recently, because they have entered an extreme risk protective order against you. Right.
So, bear in mind, it's not as though you get served with that order, they take your guns, and then there's no enforcement mechanism afterwards. Everybody knows that order is entered, and it affects you in your carry. It affects you in your purchase power. It is, once it's there, it's there.
Yeah, and it's the process of getting something taken out of this, so we have the National Instant Criminal Check System. It queries several different databases, the NCIC, the National Crime Information Center, the III, the Interstate Identification Index. Some of these state background check systems feed into a legacy system. So we have all these little databases that feed into the NICS system. And once some information gets inputted in the states, these things feed into the databases that feed into the NICS check. And it is a complete web, very difficult to untangle should information find itself in there. And so that kind of what brings us to this horror story.
Yes. So California uses, we will link in the description below a video in which we checked out New York's checkbox system for taking your guns away. California uses something very, very similar, where, you just show up, and this one is specifically for domestic violence, and you say, this person is check dangerous, check has guns. It is very, very easy, very simple. You just check boxes. It is very, very easy.
Yeah, but it's not a peace officer, because, when we think about this stuff, there's different levels to it. And there's some states that have quite a bit, we don't like red flag, but at least there's a whole heck of a lot of due process and hoops people have to jump through. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have unsworn declarations by anonymous third parties. That's like the nightmare scenario. And this is pretty close to nightmare, where a person can go in, check boxes, no peace officers reviewing any evidence to determine whether probable cause exists, no neutral magistrate is reviewing to see if, cause exists to find this person is a substantial likelihood of danger to themselves or others. So there's very little due process involved in this, especially in the California system. And then we kind of find, all right, so you got your little checkbox system. You've made it extremely easy for individuals to infringe on other people's, fundamental constitutional rights. And Edwin Walker, I will say, he was warning about this years and years and years ago, talking about, hey, we call family law courts palaces of perjury because, you go in, say all kinds of crazy stuff. There's really no penalties for saying crazy stuff, and it just, the outcomes are ridiculous. And so when they started modeling these extreme risk protection order forms and procedures to make them kind of look very similar to our family law systems, I mean, these are ripe for abuse.
Oh, yeah. Edwin Walker has no shortage of women lying on him. But there is one checkbox that is missing. There's a checkbox for everything. There is one checkbox that is missing from the California petition for an order, and it should be very important, which should be, this person is a resident of the state of California. Check. Nope.
No.
Nope.
And so what do we see? Well, we have a real case. We're going to keep the facts pretty vague to protect the innocent. But the short story is, we have a person in California who is alleging, who's in mental health crisis, who is schizophrenic, who believes that people are, tormenting her. She select a resident of another state, saying, hey, this is the person tormenting me.
To whom she's related. So it is listed as a domestic violence order.
Problem with that entire scenario, this person has no contacts with California, hasn't been to California in decades, and I mean, is not, you have to basically make an allegation of recent family violence. I mean, that's just not physically possible based on the time-space continuum, as far as I understand it. But what happened? A court issued a red flag emergency protective order.
Yep, and that order was served upon this person here in Texas. Imagine your surprise if you are just minding your own business wherever you are, Ohio, Alabama, Texas, and all of a sudden your local constable is like, guess what, sucker? California says you're not allowed to have any guns anymore. Give them up.
Yeah, that's an absolute nightmare. Now,
that is a nightmare, I will say. Richard was like, we warned you. We warned you that the red flag were going to become more ubiquitous and easier to get based on a lot of the things that are happening. I did not see this twist coming. This is M. Night Shyamalan territory for me.
Yeah, because it violates all notions of, substantive due process and fair play, and flies in the entire face of hundreds of years of how we have conducted ourselves. And so I don't like that.
No, I don't like it.
To put mildly, I don't care for that sort of thing.
So we are, I will say, on our toes right now trying to figure out, what do you do about this? It is at this point an order which has been served upon a person, and it is in a really unfortunate spot because it does get entered into all these databases. And so generally speaking, I mean, I think we go back to law school, I think back to civil procedure, and I think back to Professor Kevin Stack, who would be very proud of me right now for saying international shoe.
Yeah, this is our subject.
We have a case on this.
Yeah, this is our personal jurisdiction case, back from the 1940s, came out of the United States Supreme Court, and it established some standards by which someone has to have some minimal contacts in order for a court to have jurisdiction over them. But what court are we talking about? Well, this person got their temporary order. They got served. They said, hey, your hearing's in a few days here in the state of California. Figure it out, bud. Well, all right. Now we have to go look at principles. And a lot of people, your inclination might be, say, hey, go pound sand.
Yeah, you don't have jurisdiction over me.
You don't have jurisdiction over me.
And they probably don't.
But in the meantime,
however,
this tangled web of lies has spread into the databases, and it will, even though you have nothing to do with it, it would impact your ability to purchase and possess firearms if the state of California enters a final emergency protective order, feeds it into that database. I'll just tell you, the logistics of getting information removed out of that database as a lawyer are very difficult.
Yes, and that's part of the problem here is that does, under our international shoe standard and our minimum contacts, does California have jurisdiction over this Texan? Probably not. However, you can either fly to California, hire a lawyer, and in Texas, it would be a special appearance.
Yeah, it's probably something similar there.
You can contest that and probably win, although you've already lost if you have to do all that. Or you can just let the order be entered. This is, let's say it's a, something that's not firearm related. Let's say it's just a,
like a judgment. You owe me some money.
Yeah. You could let that order be entered and you appeal it later. And if there's no personal jurisdiction, it is void from the outset. But like Richard already alluded to, you really can't do that with the firearm stuff because of the layers and layers, and you are never going to get through all the red tape to undo it if you just let it sit.
Yeah, so think about if we just had a money case. I got a judgment for me in California. They try to execute it here in the state of Texas. Well, at that point, I challenge it saying, hey, guess what? You never had jurisdiction. You don't have jurisdiction now. This order is void, and there's a process to challenge it. For this, I mean, the cat's out of the bag. I mean, the enforcement has already taken place. So that's what makes it so difficult. But here's why you can't ignore these things should you find yourself in this situation. Because even though a court may not have jurisdiction over you, you still have to respond.
You still have to respond. Your life is imminently effed if you do not respond. So it is, and that is, I mean, that's the key too. It's what does a normal person do in this situation? And I think that the goal in the state of California is that a normal person does nothing. They just allow their rights to be stripped away. Because how does, like, Joe Schmo hire a lawyer? First of all, find a lawyer in California, hire said lawyer, fly to California, like on the fly within a matter of days to get this done. I mean, what's that going to cost all said and done?
I mean, thousands of dollars. I mean, it's
thousands
very expensive.
of dollars. I mean, I would, if you can get there, get back, and hire the lawyer for less than $5,000, you've done very well.
Yeah.
And who's compensating you for that?
And the procedure is going to depend on what state the order's coming out of, what state you live in. I mean, for example, here in Texas, you could fill out an affidavit saying, I'm not, basically, I'm declaring I'm not subject to your jurisdiction. Here's why. Maybe that's how it gets resolved in California. I doubt it. They're extremely bureaucratic. And so, but that's all to say, if you find yourself in this situation, you should not ignore it because the wheels are in motion. And if you do not respond, you might be sacrificing a lot of your rights, even though a court doesn't have jurisdiction over you.
Yep. So we're all in danger now. Moral of the story. Does everybody feel good? Do you feel light?
I hope you enjoyed this discussion.
I hope you
enjoyed it.
did,
If you did, consider subscribing.
But we are all in danger, and we will keep you updated in how this plays out. And I hope that we have good answers for and how easy it was to fight it.
Yeah.
And how it should never happen to anyone again. But my guess is it's going to happen to a lot of people here coming up.
Yeah, but this was an important discussion. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And please comment for us below, how much do you hate the state of California? Until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.